So I thought I'd do a video on keeping little fish with big fish. All these fish are about 4 inches or under. This is a grow out tank in my bedroom. These guys like this are pretty much ready to sell. But I wanted to show you, look at these little peacocks, these little males. Already coloring up. But I'm running out of room to put fish, so they went in here. Look at this little guy. Look how little he is. Look how much color he's already got. The other ones would stay out of the way. Anyhow, so what I was going to say is you can keep little fish with larger fish. It's perfectly fine. I do it all the time, but if you're going to do this, keep the bigger ones well fed. Albino Taiwan reef. Look at that Eureka red. Dude's a stunner. But yeah, this tank, because I have these little fish in there to make sure they get enough to eat. I normally don't feed flake and pellets every day, but I'm feeding this tank flake and pellets twice a day to keep those little guys getting plenty of food. Look how little he is, already coloring up. When he was in the other tank, he was full of color. But that's part of the trick to getting younger fish to color up is you gotta have peace in your tank. And what I found is feeding your fish plenty of food. Don't be afraid of having a dirty tank. Just do more maintenance. I know it sucks, but it's just part of the hobby. But these guys have been in here for about a week and a half now, and no loss. They're all doing fine. It's a little VC10. It's a little red empress. There's another little VC10 right there. But look how much color these guys got. In this tank, I do 80% water changes on it every week. It's got a hang on back, an Aqua Clear 110. It's got an Eheim canister under in the cabinet. It's got this extra matic, and I've got anoxic filtration. Nitrates stay low. It doesn't grow algae. It doesn't. No mess. No muss. No fuss. The back panel in this tank has never been cleaned. On all my tanks, none of my back panels have ever been cleaned. And the fronts and the sides, I do clean them, but this tank only needs to be cleaned maybe once every month and a half, 2 months. And it just runs like this. I don't clean my filters too often, and I don't clean them not often enough. If you're letting them go for 9 months, that's not enough. To keep them in their efficiency range, you need to let the bacteria build up a good colony, but at the same time, if you don't clean them enough, they lose their efficiency because the water's going around your media. It's not doing anything. You're just pumping water around your tank. Like the Aqua Clears, for instance, they're made to bypass. There's nothing you can do about it. That's a pretty fish. It's got some crazy lines. Barring. But yeah, and the canisters, there's only a few that don't bypass. If you have anything like a Sun or something like that, what's the other one? Cascade, Penplax, Cascades, terrible. I mean, they bypass like crazy. So what I'd suggest to do is once a month, open up your canisters and clean the whatever floss you're using, whether it's a fine sponge or the floss. Don't mess with the sponges. Just switch out the floss or rinse it out, whatever you do. Put it back in there. And then when you're in there, just check the sponges. If they need to be cleaned, clean it. If they don't, put it back. Leave it alone. But this tank stays so clean. These fish are fed so well. That's why they got so much color. If you're worried about bloat, get you a good quality food. Yeah, keeping little fish with big fish. Feed your fish plenty. They won't even think about them. Watch out, fish. I'm trying to see that one. Getting ready to move that Eureka. I've got one female. I can talk the people into letting go. About to move them into their own tank. Can't wait for this guy to get big. He's a pretty slow grower. But he's male. That's all that matters. He's a really peaceful fish, so he'll probably stay in this tank till he gets pretty large. He would survive in my other tanks. My more tanks that are heavier stocked, bigger fish, but he wouldn't be able to eat properly. That's another thing I was going to mention. I was going to do a video on it, but I keep forgetting. A lot of people, they have fish that are losing weight. They're eating, but they're losing weight and losing weight and losing weight, and eventually they just stop eating. Then they die. And people, they try all kinds of medications. I mean, they do everything they can to try and save their fish, but nothing helps. It just eventually stops eating and dies anyways. And people always assume it's parasites, wasting disease, and that very well may be true, but I found 9 times out of 10 it's not. In a tank like this with this many fish, or any heavily stocked African cichlid tank, they're losing weight because they're not eating enough. They're not an aggressive eater, so it's hard for them to get enough to eat. So even though they're eating, and you see them get a pellet here and there, they're not getting near enough. And I've had some fish doing this. I had one that was so skinny, his forehead was pinched, and I tried everything I could think of medication-wise. And nothing helped him, so finally I stuck him in a tank with fish half his size. And right off the bat, he started gaining weight because he could eat enough. But yeah, I feed all my fish twice a day, every day. Plus treat days. I never fast them. Like a treat day for these guys is normally flakes, and then some days imitation crab, but with these little fish in there wanting them to get plenty to eat, I've been giving them flakes every day. I would not suggest feeding your fish flakes every day. Not because it's not good for them, but your filters, it's even if you turn them off when you feed, it's punishment on your tank. But yeah, if you're having a fish losing weight and you've tried everything, if you can, get another tank, put them in there, let them get fat and healthy, then start feeding your tank more. Another thing is how you feed your fish. If you have gravel, You don't really want to just pour your food in there. If you have sand, you can just pour it in there, and the fish go to town. They get it off the sand. You don't have to worry about it. But a tank like this, where all that food's going to get stuck in the gravel, I feed from one side of the tank to the other side of the tank. I get a pinch of food and sprinkle it from the right all the way to the left. I sprinkle it slowly, fast enough that fish are getting the food, but not slow enough that it's not hitting the bottom. And you'll notice all your aggressive eaters will go where you first drop the food, and your fish will learn too. They'll just start doing it on their own. All the aggressive fish will go on the right, and the smaller, less aggressive fish will go on the left. And then everybody gets plenty. I think these are rainbow cichlids. Not for sure. They're cool. This is one of my oldest fish right there. Him and his partner have been with African cichlids their entire lives. No problems. The female's right here. And they do just fine. Back to the aggressiveness of eating. Some fish are aggressive to other fish and aggressive eaters. Some fish are aggressive to other fish and passive eaters. Some fish are passive to both. Just depends on the fish. But that's why you gotta just keep altering how you feed to make sure everybody gets enough. Find what works for you. And I don't turn off the filters either when I dump the pellets in there, because it spreads out the food more. More fish have a chance to get some. Especially if you got teeny little guys like this in your tank. Hold still. This guy right here, he's growing like a weed. In the tank I got him from, they had a mix of VC10 and Red Empress in there, and I'm pretty sure he's a Red Empress, but I don't know, with his attitude, he's probably a VC10. If he's not, that's the most aggressive Red Empress I've ever seen. I had him and 3 of the other ones that looked like VC10s, and I had them in their own little tank, and he killed the other one in about an hour. So I had to put him with the bigger ones, and once the other ones got comfortable, I put him in here. That one's for sure a VC10. Where is he? They're pretty similar, but I'd be willing to bet that one's a male. That one's a male for sure. And then the other one, it's a toss-up. I don't know. It'll be a minute before I could tell. But all these little ones like this, they're all males. Anyways, yeah. Watch how you feed your fish. If you have fish that are getting skinny on you, and you medicated them and nothing's helping them, but you still see them eat pellets once in a while, they're more than likely getting skinny because they're not aggressive eaters enough for the tank they're in. So spread out the food when you feed, and feed it twice a day to make sure they get some. See, that's the other little VC10. I'm fairly certain. Anyhow, that's it.